Hey everybody, it's Eric from epautos.com, your Libertarian car guy, and I thought I would do a quick little retrospective history of a second generation Pontiac Trans-Am. Some of you have seen my car before. It's a 76 Trans-Am. I kind of consider myself something of an expert, or at least knowledgeable, about second generation Trans-Ams, which were the Trans-Ams built from 1970 to 1981. That all had essentially this body, but with minor differences throughout the years. And I'll do a walk around and show you some of the specific things about the 76 that are actually unique to this year, or were only available, or were available for the last time in 1976. Okay, first of all, one of the subtle differences is the front clip. This is the final year of the single headlight front clip. Fans of Smokey and the Bandit out there, and who isn't a fan of Smokey and the Bandit, will remember the Batmobile-looking front end with the four square or rectangular headlights that made its debut in 1977. What a lot of people don't realize is that it wasn't just the front end that was changed. A lot of other things were changed along with it that year, including the hood. If you look at the hood on the 76, the 76 shares the same little bulge right here, and also the pleats right here and right here that were on the 1970 through 76 Trans-Ams. And beginning with the 77 models, the hood is entirely flat. Next change, or rather last change, so to speak, is the hood scoop. This was the last year for the larger and rounded hood scoop. The profile of the hood is a little higher, and the shape of the hood is kind of rounded. In 77, there's a bone line that goes across the hood like that. And in the back of it, rather than having, well, my car originally had a block-off plate. There was a plate back there that prevented the scoop from actually scooping. I've made mine functional. You can see the little flapper door there. But the 77 and up shaker hood scoops had an integrated plate here that you actually had to cut out rather than unbolt if you wanted to make your scoop functional. Okay, some other differences. The fender flares are different, and the centerpiece is actually unique to the 76, the center section there, along with this panel here, which is unique to the 76, and the grille. So those of us who own a 76 have to be very careful not to damage the front clip of the car, because those parts are not common with any other year Trans-Ams. People who have a 77 or a 78, a lot of the cars are essentially identical. There are a few minor differences, but they're basically the same car. Another uniqueness, or rather final appearance, for the 76 are these honeycomb wheels. I actually got to interview Bill Porter, who is the designer of these wheels. Originally, they were supposed to have been cast in aluminum, and they look aluminum, but they're actually not. The silver material there is a plastic composite. It's actually a urethane material, and that's injection molded onto a conventional steel rim. So it looks great, but it's super heavy. And that's why in 1977 they went with the snowflake wheel, and there were two versions of the snowflake wheel. One was a 15x7 and one was a 15x8. These are 15x7 steel wheels, and it's the last time that that wheel was available from the factory on a Trans-Am. Okay, and let's see. The back panel is more or less the same as on the 77 and 78s. In 79, they went to a different taillight design. And also, of course, the Trans-Am lettering is different on the later year cars. But probably the thing that you're most interested in, if you're watching this video about Trans-Ams, is the engine. 1976 was the final year that you could get a 455 Pontiac V8 from the factory in a Trans-Am. Now, originally, it wasn't a whole lot, well, by today's standards, it wasn't a lot really to brag about. It was basically the same engine that was used in big Pontiac station wagons and big sedans. Very low compression engine, 7.6 to 1 if you can believe it, with a rated output of just 200 horsepower. out of a 455 cubic inch V8. And to give you some sense of perspective about that, outside the new car I've got there that I'll be reviewing shortly up on the site, Lexus RC Coupe that has a turbo 2-liter engine, so it's about a fourth the size of this engine. And that engine makes 241 horsepower versus 200 out of this one. And for you millennials out there who don't speak cubic inches, a 455 is 7.4 liters of engine. This paint is actually correct. That's how it's supposed to look and how it came from the factory. It was kind of a deep blue metallic, kind of an aquamarine looking color. They went to a so-called corporate blue beginning in I think late 77, and by 78, 79 it was all blue. Nobody paints engines anymore with a handful of exceptions, mostly because they're cast aluminum and mostly also because they're covered up by plastic and you can't see. Now, Pontiac people out there, of course, are going to notice some things about this particular engine that are not stock, including those chrome valve covers, which they did not come with from the factory in 1976. However, in 77, 78, if you ordered the high-performance TA66W72 400 V8, you did get the chrome valve covers. My engine also has an Edelbrock aluminum intake, which I painted to match the rest of the engine. And of course, it's got an MSD box, and you probably can't see this, but I've got, it's hard to see down there, I have ram air style, header style exhaust manifolds that are very similar to what Pontiac offered from the factory on the early Trans-Ams, the 70 through 73, if you had the 73, 74, SD 455, and the 455 HO came from the factory with those manifolds. And they're a really nice addition to any other Pontiac V8. You can get them through the aftermarket now. Pontiac V8s are kind of wide engines, and it's hard to fit headers on them. Headers tend to leak too, and you have to bang them sometimes to get the tubes to clear. Whereas those factory headers, cast iron headers, tuck in really nicely, and they, in my experience, they never leak, and they last pretty much forever. They really the only disadvantage to them is that they're fairly heavy. If you ditch them in favor of steel tube headers, you can probably knock off about 30 pounds or so from the engine. Okay, let's take a look at the inside of the car. This is factory original. I've had this car, by the way, for, God, more than 20 years now. I'm getting old. And there's the 8-track tape player. The only thing in here that's not correct and original is I put this in back in the 90s. So when I bought this car, I put a tape deck. Look, remember tape decks? That was high tech back in, I don't know, 1994 or whenever it was that I put this in here. An upgrade over that. And the other thing is, it has a 160 mile an hour speedometer, which is correct for the earlier cars, but beginning, I think, in 1975, because of the federal government, they put in a 100 mile an hour speedometer. I've upgraded this to the earlier style 160. The tachometer is correct. It has a 5,800 RPM red line and an 8,000 RPM range, which is kind of silly because these long stroke 455s would blow up if you tried to rev them much over 6,000. And that, incidentally, is why I have the MSD box, because they have a soft touch rev limiter to prevent any problems like that from happening. Okay, I'm going to close this video right now, and I'm going to do another one of a road test. So anyway, thank you for watching. Come on down to epautos.com, the internet's only, so far as I know, Libertarian gearhead website, and I think it's a pretty good site too. So we'll catch you there, and we'll catch you on the flip-flop.